Hello, Lead Gen Academy family. Listen, this is a bonus session that I'm just gifting to you. You've been doing the powerful foundational work inside of the drive phase of LinkedIn. And you're learning how to really drive premium traffic from your LinkedIn presence directly to your offers. That is really what drive and the build, drive, automate formula. That's what drive is all about. Build is about building the foundation of the audience, the brand messaging, and really building clarity around then driving that audience into the DMs and over into your offers, right? So by now, you understand that when your messaging is aligned and your positioning is dialed in, your content becomes more powerful as a conversion tool. But we have to get build and the messaging right first, right? Now, let me take it one step further, right? Again, this bonus workshop that I'm giving to you is not officially part of the Lead Gen Academy curriculum. It is what I call real value add next steps that we gifted to our Academy clients who just graduated. So we did a 3-day intensive as a gift to them for next steps. We talked them through bigger picture funnel building, freebie building, and also business planning. So I just want to give you some context, maybe on the front end or back end or anything kind of in between that's talked about in the freebie workshop. It's because right before we talked about one thing and the day after we talked about another. But I love making sure we're giving out content where it makes sense, even though you've invested in the Lead Gen Academy, you've invested in specifically lead generation with LinkedIn. I think this training around freebie building is super, super important for your next steps inside of Drive within LinkedIn. Okay, so this is in what we call the business world lead magnet creation, right? So lead magnet creation. So now here's the thing, freebie building is not the first step, which is why we don't teach it in the early stages of the academy in the build phase. And honestly, we don't teach it at all inside of the academy because this is focused on LinkedIn. But we want you thinking about where you're driving your traffic off platform. We want you thinking about where is this funnel taking people? What are you doing with this brand and messaging and leads that you're creating? Like, where are you taking them? Bigger picture, right? So if your positioning with their target audience is not right, then the freebie is not going to solve the problem. But if you've gotten the positioning proper in the build phase, then in the grow phase, right, knowing you're doing the work, this is where when you've been building your audience with intention and you're magnetizing the right people to your brand, now what do you do with that? How do you monetize it, right? So you're ready to build something that helps convert that visibility, build community into your bank account, but we have to build community before we build bank account, right? And this is where we're able to convert visibility into long-term value. What is long-term value? It's your email list, right? Why does this matter? Because your email list is your bank account pipeline, right? It's an asset that you own. And when you build with strategy, it becomes a tool that drives daily sales and scales your authority beyond the algorithm, right? So this workshop is going to walk you through how to create a high converting freebie that doesn't just give value, but strategically leads your LinkedIn audience directly into your offers. And you're going to hear a story about how I waited way too long to be doing this. Way too long, right? So I hope you really enjoy this workshop. You may hear us talk a little bit about build, grow, scale inside of this workshop because it is the next step for our clients in the academy. So if you're watching it and the light bulb moment's going off of like, oh my God, there's this bigger picture funnel that I could be creating this offer seamlessly throughout, and you have questions, definitely just reach out to us and we can share with you a little bit more about the build, grow, scale framework. But regardless, I hope that you take this training as your call to think bigger beyond the messaging and the funnel building at the top of funnel that you're doing with LinkedIn and what you're doing to convert those connections into building your email list. Hope you enjoy this. We can talk about it in hot seats. And like always, send me messages over on social. I would love to hear what you're learning, what actions you're taking. Today we're turning the spotlight on to really where most entrepreneurs completely underestimate the power of a high converting opt-in. I know I underestimated it for quite some time, and really underestimated just the power in general of what an opt-in can do for you. And I know Jackie's going to get into this. I don't want to steal her thunder because haven't actually even seen her slides. I'll just start talking and take up space. I'm going to hand it to her. And she's just going to share with you her genius around the power of opt-ins. And if you don't even know what an opt-in is, you're going to want to lean in, because having high converting opt-ins are the beginning, the top of the beginning of your funnel that can literally make you millions if it's optimized, right? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jackie.
Okay.
That's fine.
Today, we are going to be talking about not irresistible offers, but we are going to be talking about freebies. So I would love to kind of kick this off by everybody sharing your freebie. What do you have? What are you using? Do you have a freebie? And then the follow-up question I'm going to ask you to that is it converting to sales? Because that's what a freebie is designed to do. So a freebie is something of value given in exchange for an email address. So this is not something like, oh, I have a PDF and I'm just going to hand it out to people. It's definitely something that we use for an email address. And I think, as we're creating freebies, we're going to go through a lot of things like nitty gritty about freebies today. But all freebies, Melissa's heard me say this a lot, are definitely not created equal. And, I think with Melissa, we'll talk a lot about her checklist today, but I felt like you were very lucky, Melissa, when we first got started to have the checklist because it was the epitome of a really high converting freebie. And it does exactly what a freebie is supposed to do. And I will say, knowing Melissa as well as I do it, and I'm just going to say this, Melissa, like I don't know that you even meant it to do that.
I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm so grateful for you. Like, let's just talk about this for a minute. Jackie, I launched my business leveraging creating a personal brand, right? You guys know from being through the Lead Gen Academy, personal branding and creating an audience on the internet is like my zone of genius. And very quickly, when I started working with Jackie, she was like, this is great, but like, how are we converting all of these people on social media to a list? And I was like, what do you mean a list? Like, so like Instagram and LinkedIn will be around forever, right? Like, this is how I'm generating my business. And she's like, no, we need to convert these people to a list, and we need to create something that is going to be of super high value. And I remember you and I haven't talking about it because I didn't understand. So I do want to underscore this for all of you who maybe are sitting in my shoes where I was a couple years ago versus Jackie. The truth is that an email list without like a revenue strategy really does nothing for you, right? And that freebie is the traffic spark, right? It's the traffic spark. But without a plan to actually convert those names into clients, right? To convert those names into clients, it's really not a funnel, right? And so the freebie has to be highly desirable, and that's just the first step. Then, if it's highly desirable and highly downloadable, it's dead in the water if you don't have an end-to-end system to like what we talked about yesterday with the offer flow, how you take that person through a customer journey once they're on the back end. And I don't know if you're going to share, are you going to share the story about our download?
That's actually the next slide.
Okay.
But that's why, I think you just hit on something so important. A freebie without a plan, like just creating something randomly that to give to your audience, that's not going to do you any good, right? It needs to be extremely strategic. It needs to be something, and we'll talk about the specifics of what it should do for you and how you can change it to be more irresistible, but it should be a gateway to sales for you. If it's not a gateway to sales for you, I mean, when I first started working with you, you're like, yeah, I just have this checklist. I don't even know. It was on a Word document, I think. And it was like, I don't even think the link worked for people to download it initially. So like
Yeah.
it just wasn't exactly, like framed in a customer journey. And when I say customer journey, for those of you that may be new to hearing that term, what we're talking about is somebody coming in to your world, to your ecosystem, and all the movements that they take until they purchase from you. And so knowing what all of those moves are is critical. And those are really important things that we go over in Build, Grow, Scale. Otherwise, how many of you feel like you just have all these random pieces? And I would say probably the majority of people we work with, Melissa, feel like they just have all these random pieces to their business, but there's no flow. There's no way for them to move through. So from coming and finding you to buying from you, for many of you probably just feels like random, right? Like, oh, cool, this person bought, or nobody's buying, or all of those things. And what that just is having a customer journey that's out of alignment, and one that's not structured in a way to take somebody from the beginning to the end. And so if you think about it like that, it's pretty simple, but structuring those pieces together, and when it begins with this freebie today, that's the key. That's the magic. That's the piece that is going to get you from where you are now to where you really want to be. So we do have a story, and I actually pulled up our old slides. So where it says 3 years ago, I think this is more like we're getting to like 5 years ago.
5 years ago now.
Right. So, and so this is the story of how Melissa made $100,000 in 24 hours while on vacation. I remember, I think you were chopping down a Christmas tree.
Yeah, it was Black Friday. Jackie said, I'll never forget. You were like, we've been putting this lead magnet out for like a year or two. Like this is like a 401k, right? To me, it's like a slow burn that you have to let build and be patient. And I'll never forget you, Jackie. You were like, I think it's time to leverage the list. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, I think we need to sell some shit on Black Friday. And I was like, really? And you were like, yeah, let's do it. She was like, we've been growing the list for 2 years. We've been nurturing it. I was like, okay, let's try
You
it.
did not have any faith at all that it would work. Like zero faith that it would work. She was like, you just go, basically, she was like, you just go play. You just do it,
Yeah, I was like, have fun.
And I'm going to go chop down a Christmas tree.
Right.
So we had this lead magnet that we took and optimized from Melissa's initial idea. And we decided to go, and this was in Thanksgiving of 2022, which I can't even believe. Like, it seems like ages ago. Yeah. So we were nurturing our list. We were sending weekly emails, and this is just a fun fact. We had a very small team. There was only a couple of us. When I say sending nurture emails, probably many of you are thinking like, oh gosh, well, I don't have time to do that. We didn't either. We hijacked social posts and sent them out as emails. It was as simple as that. So if you're thinking like we did this big intricate nurture thing, we didn't. We just stayed in touch with our audience, right? And we nurtured them. So after we did this for a while, I knew that it was time to put out an offer to our list, because we hadn't. All we had done is just value, 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 value. So why not send them an offer? And so we offered, and I think it was our first iteration of Build, Grow, Scale. I think that was what we offered.
The Business Basics Accelerator.
Yep, BBA. I remember that. And so we just decided to give it a whirl. And I remember I looked at the numbers, and I remember specifically, I looked at the numbers like probably 12 times just to make sure before I texted Melissa, because I was like, I don't know, what if I'm wrong? But I was right. I told her that we hit 100,000 in 24 hours. And I remember, I don't think it's included in here, but I think you're like, you were like, what the heck? Yeah. Like you were, and you didn't believe me either. And I think then you went home and checked, and you're like, oh my gosh, yep, here we go. And that is the story of how an email list led us to $100,000. But like we're saying here, it's not like $100,000 just fell into our lap. It definitely did not happen that way. So for, those of you that are putting out there's not a time limit. I'm not saying that it has to be 3 years, definitely not. However, we definitely could have done it earlier. And believe me when I tell you, I tried to get Melissa to do this a lot earlier, but she was just like, no, we're going to do this social, this other stuff. And so we did. But once we did this, the floodgates just opened. And we were then, Melissa realized that all of these people that were on our email list, we could sell to, right? We had earned the right to sell to them. And I think that's what's really important. A lot of people, how many of you are on email lists where people just send you emails when they want something from you? That drives me insane. Like when they have a new offer or if they're launching or all of these things, it drives me nuts, right? Like that's when we talk about email marketing plan, like you can't, that's not what we're about, right? We don't want to just go to our list when we want something from them. It's definitely a reciprocal exchange where we're providing value, not unlike what we teach in Lead Gen Academy and, and obviously in Build, Grow, Scale. So nurturing an email list that you own is something that will lead you to something that you own, right? And I think that that's on our next slide. So why is it important to build an email list? And the biggest thing is, and that this has been shown multiple times, and I hate to say it, but even on LinkedIn, you own your email list. So all of the people that give you their email in exchange for your freebie, whatever that is, you own those email addresses. That's huge, right? So if the lights were turned off on LinkedIn, Meta, TikTok, all of those things, which who knows, right? This crazy world, who knows what's going to happen? You at least still have these dedicated people that say yes to you. And the second thing that I think is incredibly important and something that we greatly underestimate is our emails land directly in somebody's inbox. And of course, you have to build up your domain reputation, which is something we cover in Build, Grow, Scale. But on social media, I think a lot of us, when we put offers out there or freebies out there or anything like that, we just assume when we hear crickets, nobody wants what I've got. When the reality is, enough people didn't see it. That's the problem, right? And with an email list, the opposite happens, right? When we get those people on our email list, they get our emails every week. And we show up directly for them in a way that they can open right then and there. We don't have to wait for us to like show up in their feed.
Yeah. And it's very intimate. Like I've had this discussion a lot with people lately, to your point, Jackie, obviously personal branding and having a brand presence online is top of funnel strategy that we should all be doing. But to Jackie's point, like we can't bank that on any given day, our entire target audience sees the one post that you put out, right?
Yeah.
Just a small fraction are going to see it. And so one of the things that we've gotten better about is, really cross promoting, like Jackie said, whatever content is landing really well on social, like using it in our email sequence as well. You don't have to create something new, but the power of the email is that it's intimate. Like though if they gave you the right email and not their junk mail, they're in there every day. They can avoid social media. People take social media sabbaticals. People lose their social accounts. That's like a whole nother conversation. But I am in my inbox as a mom every day because I get emails from teachers for my 3 kids. I get, bills and communication with my CFO. I can't avoid my inbox, but I can avoid social media, right? So from the end consumer, it's way more intimate, right, to get into their inbox if you can navigate it in a way that creates value. And what I want you to see from a build, grow, scale perspective is that you want to see your personal brand at top of funnel social as your traffic to lead people into your email list, right? Lead them into your email list. What is your strategy to get them into your email list so that then you can start really nurturing them? And the flip side of that, I had a different point as far as email goes. The end consumer, opens their box. And then there was something else. I've lost my train of thought on this, but there was a flip piece to that I was going to share as far as the business owner and actually producing the content in the inbox. I'll come back to it when I think of it, but I think you guys get the gist. It's an intimate place to be seen. And then if you have a strategic pull through of value and thought leadership when you're in there and a strategy on where you're taking them, it's everything.
Yep. And I remember when we first got started, when we were sending emails.
Lord, I can't get rid of it.
Okay. So I remember when we first got started and we were sending emails, something, just a little tidbit for you guys. What we would do is we would ask people to reply. We still do this occasionally. We ask people to reply to our emails. This happened all of the time. And what does that do? That puts a lead directly in contact with you. And I don't know how many times over the years now we've had people reach out and they're like, replying, how can I work with you? What do you offer? That's the point that you want to get to. They're like, my gosh, your emails are so valuable. How do I work with you? And that's the destination. That's where we all want to get. And I think when we're starting and we think, oh, well, if I repurpose content, somebody might have seen it on Instagram. That's a mindset thing. Promise you, nobody will. In all of the years I'm doing this and all of the brands I've worked with, never have I heard someone say, oh my gosh, you repurpose this. That's something that lives in here. So when you're creating your email list and when you're nurturing it, repurpose, right? Take what's already working. You guys have already done the work. Many of you are in the academy or you're doing things on LinkedIn with a blueprint and things like that, right? That's your content, right? So it doesn't have to be crazy. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. And this is where I think a lot of freebies kind of tank or they don't do what you want them to do. So when I say freebie, just for some of you, just for some ideas, these are some examples of freebies. You know, with a checklist, that's something that Melissa obviously has. Her LinkedIn checklist, that's her OG. That's the one that she had when she first started. You know, there's all different kinds of things. And many of you may see things on here like video and you're like, I'm not doing video. That's the beauty of this. You don't have to do anything. You can do something that feels energetically aligned. This is a business where we're all about a 360-degree approach. So doing something that feels in alignment to you, to me, when you're choosing this, that's people's biggest mistake, right? You choose something where you're trying to like fit a square hole or a square peg around hole, right? And when you do that, no strategy, no nothing that people are trying to teach you, if it doesn't feel aligned, it's not going to work for you. So when you're choosing your freebie, make sure that you're choosing something that feels aligned, it feels good, and you enjoy creating it, right? So whatever that is for you, and this is just a sampling, there's probably a zillion things that you could do. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is how can I make my freebie unique, right? Because, and this is something actually our ads team brought up to us a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it's a really valid point. The checklist has been done, is what they've said, right? Like, how many of you have seen 5 million checklists here, there, and everywhere about everything, right? So it's not that I want you to be thinking about how can you make this unique to you, right? And unique to the end user. That's where we have to get creative. And that's where we have to put a spin on it that makes this incredible. And this kind of leads into my next slide, because let me take this here. Your freebie should be designed, and this is going to sound familiar because we talked about this yesterday. Like your offer, your freebie should be designed for your ideal client. It's not beginner material. You heard the story yesterday about how Melissa sent Lori Harder our profile makeover, and that's a freebie, right? That's something that we give away for free. If your freebie is not something that you are incredibly proud of and that you would share, and it's like foundational, and it's that like it should be something arguably that people would pay for, right? We're in that kind of a market. Alex Ramosi said something amazing, that if people won't give you their time for free, why would you ever expect them to pay you for anything? And I think that's so true, right? Like if somebody isn't going to invest time in a free thing from you, that your offer is like a far off try to them, right? So we have to make sure that everything in our ecosystem, from freebie to social content to everything that we're doing, is just filled with value. No being afraid. I saw someone in the chat talking about being afraid to give away too much. Those days are over. We need to show people that we are a master of our craft and that we are the person that can lead them to the other side of their problem. And the reality is, and I heard this somewhere and I can't remember where I heard it, but most people, like, the reality is they can Google the answer to your problem. So what you're putting out there, it needs to have a unique spin. It needs to be uniquely you. And this is where personal branding comes in too. It needs to showcase you, who you are, all of those things. And I know that some of you are probably like listening to this and thinking like, this is a tall order. It is, but you should be treating your freebie like your offer. That's really the point that I really want to drive home to you, is as much energy as you put into your offer should be put into your freebie. Melissa mentioned top of funnel, and some people in the chat were like, what's top of funnel? Top of funnel is the entry point into your world. So if that entry point into your world isn't amazing and incredible, how can we really expect people to flow through our offers and, our free things, our email list, all of the way to our offers? So I would argue that it is as important to put in as much effort with your freebie, even if it's a masterclass. And this is a great example here with the lead gen masterclass that we used to do. You heard me say used to do because we're not doing it anymore. But we believe that all of our workshops, everything that we do, like what we're doing here, should be an experience for you. We're going to crush you with value. We're going to delight you with service, because we want you to get an idea of what it's like on the inside to work with us. And so your freebie, whether it's a video, whether it's an audio, whether it's a checklist, needs to encapsulate those things.
Yes, I love this, Jackie. I just wanted to piggyback on that what I want you all to envision is that solving this micro problem should open the door to your paid solution.
Yeah.
Right? It should open the door to the paid solution. So what I don't want you to think is, I have to like over deliver so much that they're satiated and they don't invest. You actually need to be thinking about reverse engineering your entire customer journey so that the freebie becomes a breadcrumb all the way to the bank, right? And so I want you all thinking about that. Like, I'll give you an example. About 2 years ago, I really got into really got into the science of macro tracking, and I started following this girl who's really, really known in the fitness space, and she had a downloadable freebie that was the most encompassing, values-based, educational, downloadable freebie on macros that I have ever seen in my life. It was like of such high value. And I started using it for a couple of days, but it was actually a breadcrumb to being like, shit, I would rather just work with her. I would rather her just figure this out for me on a daily basis. But she'd already earned so much credibility with me with the value stack of what she gave me. And it was a breadcrumb to the purchase. Does that make sense? It was a door to the paid solution. And that's what I want you thinking about with your irresistible freebie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So you brought up the fact that this should be a micro problem. So what I'd love all of you to do is tell me the overarching problem that you solve for your ideal client. So everybody, if you know off the top of your head, share, because we're going to break that down. And this is a big part of what makes your freebies or your low ticket offers really successful. What we're looking for is taking from your overarching problem, and I'm going to show you an example in just a second, and we're going to take micro problems out of there. So I know somebody mentioned in the chat that it should give them a quick win. Absolutely. We need to solve a micro problem for them. So here is an example for you. And this actually kind of fits in with what you were saying, Melissa, a health coach,
Oh, that's
right?
funny.
Yeah. So the problem solved is getting healthy, right? And so that's the overarching problem that this health coach solves. But with getting healthy, how many things does that encompass? All kinds of things, right? And there's things I probably didn't even mention here, like hormone balance, weight loss, supplements, sleep, exercise routine. Those are how we take a bigger problem and we break it down into smaller problems that we're going to solve for people. Now, I think the Rolls Royce or the Lamborghini of this type is what you mentioned, Melissa, is when you can create something where people go through it and they're like, this is great, but I would just rather somebody do this for me. That's the ideal situation. But just solving a micro problem for someone, let's say that I am your ideal client, you're a health coach, and you make some sort of guide about sleeping, or maybe it's an audio series or something. I listen to that audio and I have the best night of sleep that I've ever had. You didn't like solve my overarching health problem, but you gave me a good night of sleep. I'm going to remember you forever. That's what we're looking for when we're solving a micro problem for somebody. So this is a big exercise that everybody should be doing, is breaking your overarching problem that you solve down into small problems. And we're looking for the things that show up, and they're like, somebody online said the other day, it's like something that like kicks you in the teeth or something every day. Like it just shows up in your face every day. It's a symptom. I know you've talked about this, Melissa, but it's a symptom of a bigger problem. So let's say that you're maybe in debt. What are the micro problems that show up for you? You know, like freaking out about checking your bank account, or not knowing how to put a budget together for a grocery list, or like there's just all of these smaller problems that are these things that show up that are a real pain to people in everyday life. But it's how you show up and flex your authority to them that hey, if I can get you a good night's sleep, I'm the person to lead you through to get you the health that you really want, right? So that's really what we're looking for, is how can we break our bigger problem down into smaller problems? Pick one of those smaller problems, and that is what your freebie should be. This is also pretty true for your low ticket offer if you're doing a low ticket offer, but this is where we start, right? And so to Melissa's point, if you help me get a good night of sleep, that's great, but I still need to figure out my exercise routine. I still need maybe menu planning, all of these things. I'm not there yet. My overarching problem has not been solved. And just because I've had a good night of sleep, there's all sorts of other problems that show up. And that's where your email sequence comes in that we're following up with once, people download this guide. That's what we're looking to do, is show them, one quick win, and then it opens the doors to where we ultimately want to take our ideal client with our offer. So there's all kinds of different examples that we could go into with this. I think this is probably one of the easier ones. I mean, if you're like a business coach or something like that, oh my gosh, think about that. Like with business coaching, there's so many micro problems within that, right? Like all of the different things that people struggle with in business. This is a good thing to potentially put into ChatGPT, right? Like break my problem down into smaller problems, right? Here's what I do, break that down into smaller problems. So this, I think, is the most important thing beyond solving the micro problem. This is how we turn a freebie into something truly irresistible. The first thing is something that I feel like is incredibly important. How many of you have downloaded something and then you've never looked at it again? Never looked at it again. Or maybe you didn't even go to your inbox and get it. I know I've done that, right? Like you download it and you never even look at it. Go ahead and delete the email. And you're like, I don't need this thing. What we're looking for when we're creating a freebie, ideally, is to make it more than single use. So what we're not looking for is something that's one and done, right? So if I'm using your sleep guide, that idea, like if maybe you list out a routine for me to follow, I could use that potentially every day, right? I could use that anytime I'm struggling to sleep. Melissa's LinkedIn checklist, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know that she knew when she was creating this how effective it would be, but the LinkedIn checklist is something that people can use every day on LinkedIn. And what does that do? That keeps Melissa or you or whatever who's doing this top of mind. That is where the magic comes in with Freebie, is making something that's more than single use. Like, let's say that you are maybe a website designer. Now, that's where, I mean, you're going to need, I think the go-to would be like, you know, 10 ways to make your website like pop or something like that. What could be better would be an audit that somebody could do on their website, maybe quarterly or something like that, right? Like something that you can consistently use to tune up your website. If I have that kind of guide and I'm consistently tuning up my website with your audit, when I need web services, I'm going to you. That's what we're doing, is trying to keep you top of mind. And also, if I'm the other thing that we're not even talking about is if I'm using that guide, I'm going to refer you to people. I'm going to send that guide to people. How many people, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have shared Melissa's checklist. Like, you need help on LinkedIn? Well, you should start with this thing, right? Because I've been using this every day and this is amazing. That's what we're looking for, is something like that. And it's not easy necessarily to find something like this. And many of you are probably thinking about, how many of you are thinking about your lead magnet going, it doesn't do that. It's not, it's definitely single use. That's okay, because I would argue that most people's lead magnets, when you first create them, are 100% testing ground, right? We have to figure out how to optimize it. How many iterations have we had of the checklist now, Melissa? Probably like 5, 6.
Yeah.
We just continually make it better and better and better. So don't think, freebies are not one and done, just like your offer, not one and done, right? We have to continually optimize it. The next thing, just like we said, is solve a problem that opens up a bigger problem. So if you teach me, you know, how I can do like a 10-minute exercise plan, that's great, but that definitely presents like, now I need to eat right. What supplements should I take? I definitely am not getting the right amount of sleep. All of these things start coming up for me. And how we push the buttons on those pain points is through our email sequences. The next thing I really love, and it is to make it interactive. So if you have something that people can use again and again, a great example of this would be like a planner or a journal or a template that people could use over and over again. That's something, again, it's something that, if we give people, I'm just going to tell you, ebooks are not my favorite thing. And I apologize to any of you that have an ebook, but if you have a 50-page ebook, I am not going to read that, right? Like, and it's not like, and it's also something that I have to read the whole way through. Why not break it up? And, you know, I have always encouraged people to, like, your turn at a spot where people can journal their thoughts or how they're reacting. Maybe you've outlined a new concept to them, have them write about it, have them, you know, outline how it worked for them. Making people do those types of actions, embed them into your world a little bit more. And then what's the last thing? Make it easily consumable, right? And I think we're all guilty of this when we start creating things. And this is the fine line between giving away everything but the kitchen sink, because we're not asking you to do that. We need something that people can easily consume and get done. LinkedIn checklist, the 30-minute profile makeover. That was not by accident that we named it the 30-minute profile makeover, that freebie. It was because people can get it done. They can update their profile in 30 minutes, right? And every time they need to go back to it, they can use it and update the profile in 30 minutes. So easily consumable. It's something that people can get done in one sit-down session. We're not looking for something that's going to take people weeks to consume, because the reality is they're not going to do that, right? Especially if they're new to our world. Getting people that bought in right off the bat, that's tough. So we're definitely looking for something that people can dip their toe in, like an easy to follow, like a saying, sleep routine or something that people can go back to. That's what we're looking for. Nothing crazy. Anything you want to add here about irresistibility?
No, I think I agree with you 100%. I don't know that I could add anything additional, Jackie. You're nailing it.
I mean, I think the last thing I'll say that I don't have here before I move into giving you guys your templates is, you know, the big thing is, and this is with offers too, this is something that we really go into and build, grow, scale. Many of you are probably sitting on a really great freebie. I've seen a lot of you in the chat telling us about your freebies. They sound great. You probably have named it wrong. That is a huge piece to freebies, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be just like your offer. And this, if your offer's not selling, this is something you'll want to consider too. If you don't name things in a way that people can easily tell what it is and what it is going to do for them, and this goes for the landing page that you put your freebie on. You'll notice that all of ours, I remember it might have been last year, we had someone come in the business and try to convince us that we needed like this mile-long landing page for a freebie. Didn't work at all. It was our lowest converting opt-in page. Right. And the bottom line is we need to get straight to the point. Again, these are people that are brand new to us, brand new to our ecosystem. So we need to like just, hey, this is what it is. This is what it's going to do for you. These are the 3 ways that it's going to help you. Are you in or out? It needs to be a quick, easy yes. Like, we don't want people to ponder it. We don't want people to sit there and think about it. This is a reflexive thing when we're naming it.
Well, and the other thing is, and I know you hit on this, and we started with this yesterday, but I just want to bring us back to it now that we're talking about it, making it irresistible. And again, I know you hit on this a little bit, Jackie, but it's messaging is everything. Like, what we don't want is a list full of people who never buy.
Yes.
Like, I can tell you how many clients that have come into our higher ticket coaching containers who have lists of people that don't buy anything, right? Yeah. And it all starts with building a list off of what is the messaging on the freebie that you're downloading? Like, who are you targeting? Are you speaking directly to a premium client? And are you thinking about, again, we're going to talk about top of funnel, because Build, Grow, Scale is about that top of funnel strategy to bring in that premium client. And what we talked about yesterday with threading the message all the way from that irresistible freebie that pulls them through or up, if you want to ascend, from your opt-in all the way to your 5, 10, 30K offers. What you don't want to do is build a list of freebie collectors.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
I mean, that's like the friend zone, right? Yeah. Those are the people that will perpetually be your friend, but it's never going to go any further than that. And that's not what we're looking for. And you're like, how do I avoid that? It's knowing your ideal client. So just in our Build, Grow, Scale program, we just did this really great brand voice exercise, and that really uncovers these micro problems that we're looking for. These micro problems, I know we just briefly touched on this. This is something you must know about your ideal client. You must know the things that are tripping them up every day. That's what every piece of content in your ecosystem, like, it needs to come back to that, right? Because those are the things. And the example that I always give is when you do a Google search for something, let's say you have a problem and you do a Google search for something. Melissa, you talk about this with cars, right? Mm-hmm. And I see in my feed that you are addressing that problem that I have put into the Google search bar. You are my person. You understand. And that we need to know the things that our ideal client is Googling. It's like when you want to buy a car and you start typing it in, then you start seeing the car everywhere, right? We need our content to show up like that for people in relationship to the things that are keeping them up at night, the things that, and maybe not even keeping them up at night, but, you know, a great exercise to think about is your ideal client from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. What are the things that they encounter? What are the stumbling blocks that they encounter? Addressing those things, keep it really like to the point for this person. Most of the time when we create freebies or content for that matter, it's way too overarching. And overarching doesn't allow your ideal client to see themselves in your world, in the problem. So it's really important that you understand what these micro problems are. That's why I created the market research module that we did. And that's why we have our new brand voice exercise, so that you can really get in and understand what exactly and speak exactly how your ideal client would. When we do that, and those I feel like are precursors that have to be done before you even consider a freebie. Wouldn't you agree, Melissa? Like, you can't just like, and I think so many people have seen an ad like, I'll help you create a freebie, or I'll help you do this. But if you don't do the pre-work when it comes to creating a freebie, you're not going to probably create one that many people want. And that's, I think, that's why I say that Melissa was just really lucky when she created her first freebie. It was spot on, and it definitely needed some adjustment, but you hit the nail on the head when it came to those things. So that is where we're going to go. I have homework for you, but I also have some templates for you guys today. So we have our lead magnet AI prompt. So this is just an AI prompt that kind of covers the things that we did today, that you can use to start getting some ideas going with your lead magnet. And when you use this, I want you, like, and I've seen many of you in the chat talk about my lead magnet isn't working, all of those things. That's totally normal. The fact that Melissa came up with something right out of the gate that was great is not the norm. Before I worked with Melissa fully, I worked with all kinds of entrepreneurs, all types of different business. And I will just tell you that not only just your offers, but your freebies are something that have to be tested. They have to be optimized. When when we make that list of micro problems, maybe potentially you make 2 freebies and we are A/B testing and see which one works better for us. That, I don't want you to just throw in the towel because your first idea for a freebie didn't work for you. It's definitely something that's worth the effort to optimize and make your true lead machine, right? It's the thing that brings people to you. And that's, I mean, for most of us, it doesn't come overnight. And that's totally normal. And it just means we have work to do. And that's why there's programs like Build, Grow, Scale to help you really dig in. If you get to know me, I am a lead magnet nerd. All things lead magnets are my favorite thing, because I really believe that having an email list and having a path to bring people in is one of the smartest things. It's, my gosh, it will save you so much time if you can come up with something. Then you start bringing in people systematically, automatically, people that just want to work with you, instead of you kind of feeling like you're just constantly trying to throw spaghetti at the wall, getting something to stick. And then the other thing I'm giving you is the lead gen checklist, which we renamed the lead gen checklist, the Canva template. So I know for many of you, believe me, I know I've heard it. Canva is not your favorite thing. It is not the thing that you go into a rabbit hole when you do it. So feel free to use that. Take a look at what we've done there. Look at the things that we've done and kind of model yours based on how we model it. In that template, you're going to see certain things like the fact that we have a cover page. And then the second page is a little letter to your audience, right? This brings humanity into what you're doing. And if you look strategically at all of Melissa's lead magnets, the second page is always a note from Melissa telling them the value that they're going to get out of that lead magnet. It's a great way to establish that rapport with your ideal client. Then we go in to the meat, the checklist itself. And then the last page, I always tell people, if you're going to make a free thing for people, why not have a billboard at the end? So your last page should be a billboard. It should let people know more about you and understand what would be the next step. Many of us just put out a free guide or a recipe book or something like that. And at the end, it's like, okay, cool. What if I wanted more? What's next? Where do I even go? That's what we're talking about when we talk about customer journey. It's that flow, making sure that you have those strategic points worked in so that people know what the next steps are. So usually we change out the last page of Melissa's lead magnets all the time. It used to be for the Lead Gen Masterclass to get on the wait list for it. It could be to connect with you, Melissa, on LinkedIn, because that's a place where Melissa's really interactive. It could be to a discovery call. That's a bold step. It may work for some of you, but if you notice that you're not getting a bunch of calls booked, that will let you know that we need to spot that out and maybe make it an easier, maybe connect with me. I always used to put, when I made lead magnets, I always put connect with me on Instagram, send me a DM and let me know how you like the lead magnet. That would often lead to great conversations, and it would give me an idea of what I was doing right, and what I wasn't doing right. So it gave me things that I could do to optimize. So those are our gifts to you. I believe are we gonna send those out?
Yeah,
Okay.
So Charlotte has dropped them in the chat. So that's perfect. And we've got plenty of time. I'm going to review a couple of slides with you all. And I see some great questions. We'll come back to the questions as well. And we have a student. Did you guys love hearing from Brandy yesterday? How many of you guys love just hearing how she came in? She sold one-to-one. Who remembers that conversation yesterday? Like, she came in selling one-to-one, not these massive 9-day launches to many, running these big group coachings like we do inside of in the academy. But she was able to really kind of layer, going from one-to-one to looking at group coaching and then layering on that evergreen. So in a little bit, we're actually going to bring in a totally different student, Lene, who's going to talk to you a little bit about, her strategies and how she's been able to scale, because I think it's really inspirational. Wouldn't you all agree, just to kind of see how different business owners are actually scaling with the frameworks, different than how I scaled, or, how other students in the platform have scaled. So I'm going to.
You want me to do the homework? I can cover the homework if you want me to.
Oh, yeah, you can talk about, here's the homework. So you share the homework. So let's talk about.
Okay. So I just want you all to do a candid audit. And if you don't have a lead magnet, this can be some brainstorming questions that you get started with. So it works for both of you. You don't, or if you do. And I want you to do this for every single lead magnet that you have. I saw somebody said they have 30. We might want to do it for each one of them, right? Because we really need this thing to be the thing to lead to sales. So
and you also want to test them. Can I just jump in for a second, Jackie?
Yeah.
Number one, go back to the offer flow workshop yesterday. If you have 30 freebies, I want you to go back to the workshop yesterday and ask yourself, out of those 30 freebies, which ones are actually solving a micro problem for your premium client that is leading your premium client to a bigger win and investment with you. Okay, that should be your guiding north if you've got 30 freebies. So that's number one. Number two, we track the performance of our freebies. And I mean, this is kind of getting into the weeds of maybe a business 2.0, but like, we know which freebies are downloaded at a higher frequency, which freebies actually convert people into registering to things with a different frequency. What we've learned is that, like, the checklist happens to be one of the, well, now I can't remember off the top of my head, but we've got the data on it. One of our freebies is one of the number one downloadable freebies, but there's another freebie that actually has the highest conversion rate to people actually downloading it and then registering and taking action on something. So then you want to kind of study that, right? It can become a science. It's like, what's the purpose this week or this month? Am I pushing a freebie because I want to activate people to register on the thank you page for a master class or something? Then I may want to choose the freebie that's showing me the data that's what it does. Or am I really focused this month on hyper growing my email list? And out of all my freebies, this one I know has the highest opt-in rate. So let's be smart business owners, right? Let's track this stuff and quit throwing spaghetti against a wall when we create these things, right? Okay, sorry, Jackie. Go ahead and give them their homework, and then I'll take
No, that's totally fine. I totally agree. I mean, when you have 30 things, or if you have several things, they all need to be optimized. Like, what the whole point of this conversation today is that we're not throwing spaghetti at the wall. And that leads into the bigger discussion about the customer journey that we talked about in the beginning today. it's really not rocket science, but you do need to be tracking all of those things throughout your customer journey to make sure that they work, right? And many of us just rely on random, oh, I posted on it twice, nobody downloaded it, that's it, the end. Like, we never do that, right? There's always a better way to approach it. That's a big thing that we talk about in Build, Grow, Scale when we make our customer journeys. We actually make maps and all of these things, right? So it's just really important to know that everything, every piece that you put out there it's numbers, right? We're looking at numbers, we're looking at analytics, we're looking at the things, and then we're optimizing one thing at a time to make sure that it starts converting. So it's not secret, but it's a lot of work. So, and getting things to work together, I mean, it's a challenge. So, your homework today, I want you to ask these questions. So, does your lead magnet address a relevant, I want to really highlight, I should have highlighted that, a relevant micro problem your audience faces? When I say relevant, I mean, does it matter to them? Right? Because you could probably come up with a list of maybe 20 micro problems. Let's make sure that it's something that matters to them. Is your lead magnet designed to be used more than once? Is it something that I might save? Maybe I'll create a folder for you. That's what I do in my inbox when I get something that I really like. You know that I really like it when I make a folder for you. So if you can get somebody to like save it and use it or share it, that's what we're looking for. Is your lead magnet interactive? Or is it just flat? Do they just get to look at it, right? Is there a way that you could make it interactive? That's a big exercise that we do in Build, Grow, Scale, is how could we make it interactive? And then, is your lead magnet converting to sales? And that is a bigger picture thing to look at, is that, like we were talking about, how does this connect to your offer? How are we flowing into your offer with an email sequences and things that connect it? So all of these are really important questions. And those are things that I think you should begin to think about when optimizing your lead magnet.
Awesome. 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 Yes. Okay. So thank you for sharing all of that. Who's committed to their homework? Who's committed to do their homework tonight? You know, we're all about taking action. If you showed up, we want you to do the work. This is just half of it, right? The other half, you have to go do on your own before we come back tomorrow. So what we did today is it's really powerful, but I hope you're seeing that it's just like the first domino, right? The real game changer is what happens after the opt-in. Lene, my friend, so excited to have you here. Would love for you to share with everybody a little bit about your business and your brilliance.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm unmuted. I thought I wasn't unmuted for a second. Hi, everybody. Good to be here. My name is Lene Lopez. I'm the founder and CEO of Verve Educational Consulting. So I've been in business for 12 years, but when I met Melissa, I was approaching my 8th year. And I had a pretty good business. I think I was pretty successful, but I was doing a lot of things on my own. I was duct taping a lot of things together. And I didn't have really a presence online. Like, nobody really knew who I was or what I was doing, except my direct clients that I had been working with. So I happened to meet Melissa, and I actually took the LinkedIn Lead Gen Academy, and that's how I started with you a couple years ago. And I kept going. Right. I got some good momentum and I kept going. And then I found myself in your Build, Grow, Scale program, which really was the turning point, honestly, for me in my business and where I am today. So that's how it started.
That is so awesome. What I love about this, Lene, is that you are a classic example. I know you weren't on yesterday. We did a totally new workshop yesterday on offer flows. And we talked with them about how you should always have your premium client in mind from day one, because they'll ascend through the whole ladder of what you have to offer. And I can't make this up. I couldn't have made up Brandy showing up yesterday or you showing up today and actually being classic examples of what I want our students here to aspire to do, which is to think about the premium client and the customer journey on day one, and how they can navigate and ascend with you through that journey. And you've done that beautifully. You've done it beautifully. So let's talk, because you went through the Lead Gen Academy, you went through Build, Grow, Scale. You were also in the mastermind, right? So can you talk about? And I think when you went through Build, Grow, Scale, it was called Business Basics Accelerator. Like, hello, burnout's an
Yeah.
all-out company. We evolve just like you do. We change names, we pivot, right? Um, so maybe, and I know it's been a little bit because you've really evolved and grown, but what do you think? What do you think were some of the contributing factors to your hyper growth while in our containers? Like, what, you know, if you had to sum it up and put your finger on it, anything systematically, organizationally that was like the biggest game changer for you prior to the systems and the process and the templates that we share inside, the frameworks that we share inside?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really about the community, both the community and access to both you and Jackie and all of the experts that you brought in, but also the community of people to talk with and bounce ideas off of. Because, as an entrepreneur, it can get lonely, and I've been a solopreneur for 12 years, as I mentioned. So, and a lot of my friends aren't entrepreneurs. So at that time, I didn't have a lot of people to bounce things off of. So that was like super, super helpful. But I want to paint a little bit of a picture first on like kind of where I was and why I went into Build, Grow, Scale. So when I was in doing the work with LinkedIn and the Lead Gen Academy, and many of you may have heard some of this story, but I started to build my ideal client, like understanding who that was and building the audience. And I started to get a lot of momentum. And the thing that's great is it's working. And then the thing that's scary is it's working. Because I got to this point where I was like, oh my God, like this is working. I'm connecting with these superintendents. Those were my ideal clients. And I kind of started to get really nervous because I felt like my personal brand, my website, my content was really kind of based on who I was.
Yeah.
And wasn't really based on where I was going.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the work in the Lead Gen Academy, I started to get really clear, probably in like month 4, of like where I really wanted to go and really what the possibilities were. I mean, like there was a lot of things I didn't know, and then through that process, I started to unlock these things like, oh, wow, like I really could have my own podcast. Like, oh, wow, I really could do like a public facing, like group coaching. Like I really could have my own email list, like all these things that I didn't really have the structure for it. And I needed a lot of support in that. So that was really, really where I transitioned in because I had built a lot of momentum and I needed a structure to hold it, or else I felt like it was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do with all that.
I love this. And it's very similar messaging as Brandy yesterday, because what Brandy talked about was creating this really powerful foundation. Do you guys remember? Like creating that foundation allowed her, when it was time for things to take off, that she had the infrastructure to actually have the capacity to hold like what she was calling in. And I love this. Maybe you could just share, because you just listed off a couple of things, like where you came in, what you were offering versus your diverse offerings now. Like where you started and where you are with your diversified income. Because one of the things, I don't know if I actually talked about it on this call yesterday, if it was the networking event call, but one of the number one nervous system regulators for entrepreneurs is actually recurring revenue. I know you guys thought I was going to get into like breath work or mindset or meditation. Yes, those are all really good. But you know what else really helps you sleep at night is recurring revenue, because you're not just launch dependent. You're not just dependent on the next sale, but you have diversified income streams from layered offers that make total sense because of your customer journey and the stacking of what you have to offer. So, Lene, where were you? What were you selling before you came in, and like what does your portfolio look like now? And like the things that you've started.
Sure. So in my educational consulting business, a lot of it was school-based coaching, and I do a lot of different things within that model, but really I pretty much had to be in a program in order to be paid, which sounds great, and that's great, but it's only me. Can only be in so many places. So I pretty quickly learned that there was going to be a cap in the amount of income that my business could bring in. So one of the reasons why LinkedIn was so appealing, and then the work with Melissa, and later in Build Grow Scale with Melissa and Jackie, was so intriguing to me, is I knew I had to build more of a digital presence so I could transition my business to do more digitally based work. So that's what I was in the process of doing when I met you. I was doing a lot more digital coaching. I was able to see more, like, instead of me being one-on-one with a director, like childhood director, I could have like 10 or 15 on a call. So that's what I was really building. And I continued to build that. So I have so much to tell in this story in this short amount of time, but well, I'll try to sum it up for you. So what ended up happening?
You are fine, Lene. You are fine. Take your time.
Okay.
You're just inspiring them all. Are you guys okay with a longer story? I think everybody's, I want you guys to hear this story because it's just like turning over one rock and another and another and another. Now she's this huge powerhouse. So just tell the story. We got 15 minutes.
Okay, awesome. So as I sort of moved into Build Grow Scale and moved into this digital presence, I upgraded my branding, my website, like I became more visible on LinkedIn.
You got digital photos by my brand photographer at one of our live events, I'm just going to say.
Yes, a couple of times actually. So I started to, and let me tell you, like, when I know Melissa talks, she's probably mentioned like attraction marketing and things like that. Like, I'm talking about like attraction marketing just from branding photos. I mean, that is like a really real thing. Like, people are like, wow, what are you doing? And what's that going on? And they'll click on things. So as I started to build that out, the timing of this was around the summertime. So in education, usually things are kind of quiet in the summer. So in that summer, I was just doing a ton of work on the back end, building things. And when I came back up to rewrite contracts, not only was I getting clients I hadn't heard from in a while that wanted to renew contracts with me, but I had a lot of people that just were like asking me questions based on just things that I was putting out. Like, they wanted more information on what I had to offer, which was amazing. The other thing that you guys should know is when Melissa talks about a house and, you know, the back door and all these things, I had no back end, guys. Like, when I started this, like, I had no CRM. I didn't have an email list. My email list was whoever was in my inbox. I mean, in all honesty, that was my email list. So in this process, I was also working on creating a CRM. And Jackie, because she's amazing at all things tech and she's tried all of these things, she really guided me on like what would work based on what I wanted and, you know, what she knew about the different platforms so that we could build the email list. And just kind of like it just layered on and layered on. And then I started a podcast, guys. Like, I got so brave. I started a podcast, and within that, other things opened up. Then I was getting invited on other people's podcasts, right?
Hey, can I pause for just a second here, Lene? Because Jackie does some phenomenal training inside of, I think, Build Top of Funnel Traffic on podcasting and getting your podcast started, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and she was instrumental. Like, I had no idea, like, how do you even do this? What do I need to know? Like, where do I go? So then I got a podcast. Then I was on other people's podcasts, right? Then more people were noticing. And then I had great content. Like, it all started to snowball, right? I had this great content, and I could make these great reels, and I could cut things and all these things. I ended up hiring a virtual assistant to help me with all the things that I was starting to create. And then a lot of other really big things started to happen. I got invited to MC a huge event from my small business development center. I was a lead guest speaker with an organization who had an email list of 20,000. And guess what? I had an opt-in that I gave away. And those people are on my email list.
Yes.
You know, so all these things started to come together, and I ended up onboarding, right? So there was a pivotal point for me where, as I said, I was growing and I was doing digital work. I also, there was still a need for on-site coaching in some of the districts that I was working with. And I honestly, at that point, I really didn't want to do it anymore, guys. I'm not going to lie. Like, I liked my digital presence. I liked being home-based, right? But I still wanted to meet the needs of my clients. So what did I do? I hired a consultant, grew the business, wrote the onboarding guide with the help of Jackie's template. And that consultant now has brought in over 150K into the business in 12 months.
Nice.
So,
I haven't even heard that yet.
Yeah, she's doing great. So this is all like, it's sort of a snowball effect. And like I said, it really started in the the Lead Gen Academy, but then really where the things started to take off for me was when I was in the Build Grow Scale BBA at that time, but Build Grow Scale. And so much to the point where and I had mentioned this on a different call that we had, Melissa, but I actually am launching a new business. So I'm launching a wellness business. It's called One World, One Breath Collective. And it has to do with nervous system regulation. I'm Reiki certified. I'm hypno breathwork certified. I'm learning sound bowls. So really this offering, I started it with my educators. I did like a little bit with them and it worked. And I'm like, all right, time to do a new business.
Yeah.
So I'm taking all that stuff I learned and now I'm implementing it with a new business. And we're building the back end and a website and all that too.
I love this so much. Number one, you're showing these students the power of being a multifaceted entrepreneur and having multiple offers, some that can perceivably be vastly different from others, even though one stemmed from the necessity of the other, probably. But the other thing I want to underscore here, Lene, and I don't know that we've talked enough about this method that we've really coined Build, Grow, Scale is a strategy. It's a formula that once you learn it, similar to those of you who've gone through the Build, Drive, Automate for LinkedIn, right? Once you learn it, you can come back to the drawing board and stack different offers and products, which is what Lene is showcasing for you right here today. Is it's like, well, then I realized I could launch this, and then I realized I could launch that. And like Jackie and I talk about this all the time. It's like, knock on wood, please God, don't do it. But like literally the universe could take everything away from me right now. And I'd be like, let's do it. I've got the frameworks. I know exactly how to start all over again, right? Like give me a good idea and an offer and I can plug in the systems from Build, Grow, Scale. I can build the top of funnel. I can map out a customer journey to conversion to sell. I can nurture them on the back end, increase their lifetime value, and then I can start stacking again. I can start all over again, right? So I love, love, love that you're sharing this. Well, what else?
As far as offers go, so I have education related offers, right? Like freebies, like Jackie was saying, like I have checklists for educators. I also have one for small business owners because of my story and the book, because Melissa and I was a co-author in a book that we created in the mastermind.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's a lot of folks that are interested in my journey as a small business owner. So I also have an opt-in for that, right? Yes. I have an opt-in for my breath work. It's on my website. You can download a free breathwork session. So all of these things, even though they're, they seem so separate, they're all part of my story. And the thing that Build, Grow, Scale did for me is it showed me how to highlight all versions of myself, like all the different things that I can do. And for a long time, I didn't know how to do that. I thought I could only be in one lane.
Yeah.
So
I love this so much. And you just hit on something, Lene, and then I promise we can wrap up. But another thing that maybe we didn't talk a whole lot about in the workshop today, but I'm just going to give it to you as like bonus knowledge here with the freebie. Two things that are in like value add on top of everything that we discussed on freebies today. And that is, and I don't want to create confusion when I talk about this, but it's really powerful because we're doing it right now. Leveraging your freebies in the DMs to actually segment and triage leads. Okay. So where I'm going with this, and again, this is the power of investing in the inner circle because we can sit in hot seat on this, on a weekly basis. I can share with you in real time what we're doing. But we have specific scripts that basically we ask insightful questions in the DMs that lead to finding out if people want a particular resource that leads to a freebie, right? And so to Lene's point, you can actually triage conversations and hand out freebies based on need. Then on the back end, the back door, like the back of the house, if it's structured right, they're now segmented on your email list. Oh, these 30 people this month downloaded the business hack framework. So now moving forward, when I run a masterclass on business scaling, they're going to get my email. For Lene, it's like, oh, but this group of people that I was in conversation with in the DMs, and if you're scaling and you hand it off to a social media manager, they're segmented for hypno breath work. So the next time I'm launching something in this space, so I want you to understand that you can actually get really freaking organized with freebies and actually segment out your target audiences. And this is how you can layer and stack multiple funnels, multiple offers, and have multiple income streams. If you can just pump the brakes and have the bigger vision and actually map out those offer flows and make sense of the freebies that you're putting out. So that's number one with the freebies. We have a whole offer flow. We have a whole like conversation flow in the DMs that we use. You can also use your freebies for Instagram people as like with Manny, was it Manny Chat? Like there's all kinds of automation that you can do over there and have people comment and they get your downloadable and you can grow your list. Jackie and I use our freebies as workshops each month. People think it's something brand new. It's like, guess what? Today we're going to do a profile makeover. And people are like, oh my God, I've never seen this before, right? And we literally are just pulling up the template we made like 4 years ago. And we're doing a live workshop and then handing the freebie out in the chat. What happens when we hand that freebie out in the chat? They go to my list. We're trying to siphon people off of social media onto something we own. If you haven't lost your Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn account yet, when you do, if you're not taking freebies and list building seriously, the moment you lose that, you will come back crying and get focused on building a list. I promise you. Don't wait for that to happen. Don't wait for that. I never got my Facebook account back, ever, by the way, ever. But I have a list and it's growing, right? Okay. This has been so good. All right. Bye-bye.